That's how it was.
And so procrastination.
Oh, it's awful.
Did that kind of become your friend with
Still is. I don't like writing, therefore I'll put it off till the very last moment. But speech to text, great thing about it is it works really fast. Because, like I said, you just speak it and then put in your periods. And then after the second grade check and everything like that, you submit it. But if you procrastinate so long, you can't really check it. And then you just say, let's see, it's fine, and then submit it. And then just pray for the best. But procrastination is still an issue of mine. But the key from transitioning to high school to college is owning procrastination, learning when to limit it and everything like that. So I'm still a freshman, so I still had time to learn and adjust. But
and again, you're going to have students. Remember how I said that they will avoid writing at all costs, and they procrastinate. And so again, if you don't know that the student has dysgraphia, your natural assumption is just going to be that they're being a little stinker for you, and that they're not wanting to write. And then you're going to try all these ways to try and get them interested in writing when you don't understand that there is something going on with them. A lot of times they don't even know. Jacob didn't know. I mean, he knew that something was going on, and his teachers knew that something was going on, but he also moved a lot. And so that didn't give him or the teachers the opportunity to really spend time with him and try and figure it out. And it wasn't until that sophomore teacher that had some training and she had obviously done some research or whatever in dysgraphia, she was able to at least figure that part out. But it is important to know the three different kinds, because I don't think that his teacher did, because she was trying to learn as she went too. And God bless her for figuring it out. But it's important to know those three types, because that's going to be able to help you with determining what you're going to do for an intervention. Using pencil grips and having students practice writing over and over again is probably going to be somewhat helpful to students with motor dysgraphia, for example, but probably isn't going to be that much help for somebody like Jacob with dyslexic dysgraphia. And just going home and sending the kid home to practice, just practice your writing. I've heard of parents talk about their child that have dysgraphia, that they are held in for recess to practice writing, because they think they just need to keep practicing because they're too sloppy. So again, you have to be very careful about this. If you have dysgraphia, this is the other thing, your students in the classroom are 3 times more likely to have dysgraphia than any other reading or math disability. 3 times. And yet, nobody knows anything about it, hardly. Most average teachers know nothing. And it's one of the most prevalent disabilities in learning. Isn't that kind of crazy? So again, I want you to be thinking about this and looking for signs. So do you guys have questions for him?
It's cool if you don't.
Huh?
I said it's cool if you don't.
They might be thinking about it.
Yeah.
If a student does have it, is there ways to help them with it and get better, maybe get towards being able to write on their own, or you just basically help them?
So
what was your question again?
Basically, should you put in time of work, working towards helping them eventually get to being able to write, or you just give in and start helping them with the speech stuff? Is it something that can be trained and fixed over time, or should you just cut to the chase and do the speech detection stuff?
Okay, what do you think?
For the first year of high school, like I said, I tried every pencil, pen, and everything. For me, that was beneficial because I knew it didn't work. I knew that wasn't going to work. But for others, I think, over time, my handwriting has gotten better. It's not pretty, but it has gotten better, but it's taken a while. So, yes, but if you don't see a little bit of adjustment, I'd move on to the next thing to fix.
The other thing you need to be very, very careful about with that, and it's a good question, the thing you need to be very careful about is that if the students are already frustrated with writing, and you want students to become writers, you truly do. Writing is critical. That is the other end of literacy. That's you have reading and being able to read, but you also need to be able to put your thoughts out in writing. That's an important way to communicate. And if the student is already frustrated in writing and just being able to get the thoughts out from their head onto paper, the last thing they want to be focusing on is handwriting and trying to make it look pretty and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And so you really need to know your students. If you are going to have them work on their handwriting and try to get it neater, that's okay. But I wouldn't focus, like Jacob said, I wouldn't focus a long time on it because you don't want to over frustrate them. The other thing is that it is not curable. There is nothing that you can do. It's just like dyslexia. There is nothing that you can do that's going to finally be the wonderful remedy for dysgraphia or dyslexia and it'll go away. It doesn't go away. It never will. He will deal with this for the rest of his life. And so you need to understand that too, so that you can, like Colton said, cut to the chase and just go straight to the speech to text. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. When they're younger and they're little and they're trying to form their own letters, that might be a little bit harder to determine if they have dysgraphia or not because their writing might look as sloppy as other students. So you just need to pay attention to all the other signs. But certainly if you're thinking that if they're young and they do have dysgraphia, you think, working on their handwriting at a young age is okay because they will get better. Like Jacob said, having practice did make him get better, but it did not make him have writing that looks like our writing would. Okay?
Cursive's hard too. Cursive was really hard because like 4th, 3rd grade when you learn cursive, well, I was just trying to learn print. So I do not know cursive to this day. My signature is just a slanted print. It's sloppy enough it already looks like a signature, so just get away with it. But yeah, cursive, I remember cursive being really hard to learn because I still don't know it, so I guess I didn't learn it, but attempt to learn.
Okay. Can you read cursive if you can't read
No,
it?
no, not at all. Yeah.
Is it with numbers too, or is it just like, so if you have like a math worksheet, would you be able to do that, or would it
Yeah,
be letters?
I suck at math, like I said in the beginning. I just think I suck at math because I suck at math. I don't think it has to correlate anything with my dysgraphia. More of a patience thing, I guess. I think that's where my ADD comes in. So I wouldn't focus when she was trying to teach how to do it correctly. But math, once I do sit down and focus, it's nothing like. Even sometimes my numbers are formed better and things like that. So math is not an issue with my dysgraphia.
And actually the math version of the dysgraphia, it's dyscalculia. And you might want to talk to Dr. Strabel about that because she might have some insight into that.
Cool. All right. Not that sentence. You see how sometimes there's capitals and things like that throughout? It just never stuck with me. So whatever is the most legible writing is what I do. That's why there's a lowercase e, capital. There's always been a capital B in my name. It's just how I write. See how it started here and looped, kind of?
And kind of goes that.
Even on line paper, sometimes if I'm trying to take notes as quick as possible, it does that.
And remember too, when I asked you because there, in other things, I don't think I put it on here, but also what they will do, students with dysgraphia, they will try writing and then they'll get to the edge of the paper and then they will like try and cram a whole bunch of stuff over here by the margin.
Yeah.
And you used to do that, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't notice I did it till I still had my high school backpack. And as we were talking about things, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I do that. Yeah, I do that. And then she asked a couple questions I really didn't know. And then I had to look back at my handwriting or write something quick. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. So as you can see, it's not the prettiest. It's eligible. You could read it, but again, it's not the prettiest. Any other questions? That's a good question. So I remember during the spelling test era, I rolls around. A lot happened for me in third grade. Third grade rolled around, spelling bee, stepped up, missed on the first round, spelled lead with an A. Rough moment. But the spelling test and everything, I would go out with a separate teacher, usually a para, and obviously, again, students, well, that's why everyone knew I had a learning disability, because I would always go and be in a different class or I'd be asked to step out. So basically she said, spell this word, and I'd verbally say it. And then she'd write it down. A little bit of cheating, but got away with it. But it's not really cheating. It's just kind of leveling the playing field. I can't work as an average student, so I get a utensil to even the playing field a little bit, and that was the teacher. And therefore, in high school, when we would have big writing assignments, I'd step out and go use speech to text. I'd come back with my paper done in 30 minutes. Everybody would have a day or two to write and be like, oh, that's not fair. And I go, you should see me try to write. It wouldn't be fair for me. And most of my friends and companions understood it, but some people didn't. But again, that's just high school. Everybody has their own opinion. Any other questions?
So did you struggle with writing to read?
Yeah, at first, because again, you learn to write, you learn to read, same thing. I think I struggled due to the fact that they spent so much time on me learning how to write. I missed some certain steps on how to read correctly. I read fine now. I don't like it, but it's just
I don't hear that, Jacob.
Kid books are right. That book you read was very entertaining. I love pictures. Yeah. So I'm big into comic books. I like pictures and things like that. But that's, again, to my ADD side. Just sitting there reading a book would be daunting. So pictures help a lot. But
Well, and I feel like that part of it is also the dyslexic piece.
yeah, it can get a little frustrating sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions?
These are great questions. Do you have another one?
I have one for you. Okay, so if you were teaching kids in third grade and you had no idea, like this teacher you had no idea what you had, and he wrote that, like, he's writing the sentences with the uppercase and lowercase throughout, how would you grade that? Like,
Well,
you thought he had something?
honestly, it would depend on the assignment. Because if I was looking, because teaching writing is kind of tough. It really is. Trying to get some kids love to write and they will just start cranking out paper after paper for you. But other students, it's a chore to get them to write a sentence, even in third grade. A couple of sentences, and it's incredibly hard. So if I saw something like this, like what he wrote on the board with the mixture of capitals and lowercase, but he was writing for an assignment, I would not take off. I would maybe work with him and come back and say, hey, can we edit? And I would have him fix those edits. But I wouldn't take off and punish him or penalize him for that because that's not fair. But again, if as a teacher and not knowing anything about dysgraphia, I would have never known. I would have never looked at that and said, you must have something going on. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have even been on my radar.
I just feel like some teachers, like, when they are reading their spelling or they're reading their writing, they're like, oh, well, they use the capital letter here, and so they do read off for that. So I just wasn't sure if you, like, have thoughts of this girl, like, what you would do for that.
Yeah, again, if it was like a spelling test, I know that some, in fact, I just judged a spelling bee for Roosevelt Elementary School a couple of months ago. And one of the kids in the spelling bee forgot to say a capital letter when they were orally spelling. And so that child was marked out and couldn't participate after that. If they are supposed to have a capital letter on a spelling test and they don't put it on there, then you would mark it wrong. But if you know the student has dysgraphia and they're actually writing the spelling, I would not count that off because, again, that's not fair. I would be thrilled to death if that person could even spell to begin with because spelling is already going to be a chore. And the other part of that, and it's a great question, the other part is if you know that the child is having difficulties, if they start doing things like mixing capitals or whatever or not use them, and you kind of helped them and said, listen, we need to capitalize that, and they continually do it, I would definitely